If you go to an average school, be it middle or high school, and ask a sizable amount of the students there about their thoughts on school as an institution, chances are that 99.99% of them will hate it or dislike with a passion. The reason, or should I say reasons, are many. Most of them simple and trivial, others a bit more complicated, such as accidents leaving them with mental damage for the rest of their lives. Yeah, that sounded rather grim and dark, didn't it? I'll just steer away from that sort of atrocities, or reasons if you prefer, for the remainder of this episode and keep the tone less intimidating, shall I say. Now, back to the reasons. Like I said, there are trivial and slightly more tangled reasons for children's hatred being more furious than a Cerberus with rabies. Annoying classmates or bullies, repulsive teachers, difficult subjects, material that makes less sense than rocket science. I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with that. I'll dissect each of them in a nutshell because, if I'm honest, there isn't much that hasn't been said, except for my thoughts. During your days in school, there's bound to be one among the sea of people that you're going to dislike for a particular reason, mainly for making you feel miserable and insignificant. I can't say that I've been bullied in the legitimate sense of the word. You know, like in those American teen films and TV series where someone's head is shoved into a toilet bowl. My classmates were annoying me, but they never got to such extremities. It was all in the realm of humor, and at times I didn't understand theirs. The reason for that was the fact that I barely spoke in school. No, I wasn't mute. I just wasn't very confident and communicative, a curse that I'm still burdened with, but is thankfully becoming weaker. Now, on to the next problem, regarding the classes and everything related to them. As far as subjects go, there really isn't not much I can say that hasn't already been said. Hating on a subject just because it sucks, you know what that's called? Unjustified hatred. Though I realize it in a different case. Unless the subject is mathematics or physics, or history to some extent, there's really no reason to hate the subjects at school. I mean, who hates PE class, for instance? Tell me. There's volumes of knowledge that could prove useful in the future. Which brings us to the teachers and what they teach us. They are closely knitted together, as one would expect. That is, the teachers and the knowledge that they give us. Though that doesn't necessarily mean that they are well knitted together. You see, in many cases there's always going to be this sizable or less sizable chunk from the concrete block that is called knowledge. A chunk that feels useless and repulsive, like a tumor. This chunk is a pole in the wheels of students everywhere. There really is nothing significant one can do to avoid it, except for memorizing as much of it as possible until the exams are over. I mentioned unjustified hatred, which reminds me of a specific gear. A gear that is small but without which the machine that is student life couldn't possibly function. Love. Oh boy, I had to include it. I was never blessed with a relationship in my life at school. Like many, I had a crush that, surprise, didn't notice me at all. And because of all the thoughts that were going through my head and the fact that she has had more relationships than the amount of craters on the moon, I felt miserable for years. Not weeks or months. Years. I just couldn't get her out of my head. I even resorted to hating her just to erase her image, but it didn't do any good. That's when I found out I felt unjustified hatred. What I mentioned before. We never said anything meaningful to each other. We never did anything together, so what was the point of hating her? None. Absolutely none. Though I did learn something from this whole mental torture. Hating people for no reason does no good to you. Despite all the negativity that I splashed upon your peaceful, innocent souls, dear viewers, make no mistake, school is a great place to be. Aside from a few minor issues, you'll be given a mold that will turn you into a human being. Friends and teachers will definitely help you under one form or another. In conclusion, I can safely say that life in school has its good and bad sides, so if you're watching this after an awful event like receiving a bad grade or feeling miserable because things in your love life aren't going the way you want them to, remember, there are worse things in life. Far worse. And eventually one day things will change for the better. Take care, and I'll see you next time.